Today we review some Dune merchandise, and while it's not the popcorn bucket, this one is available at a discount and not sold to you on eBay for more than retail price. And by now that discount should be 45% off on the new Tier 8 German premium medium tank, the Wind of Arrakis, meaning you could obtain this vehicle for less than 6,000 gold. So is it worth the price even with the heavy discount? Well, before we go over the tank, I must tell you that if you haven't played during this community event yet, then you won't see the discount upon logging in. This time around you need to contribute to the event to see some rewards. So make sure you earn 35 points towards the event to unlock everything and the discount. But now let's get into the stats of the Wind of Arrakis. This tank has a massive caveat to it, that being its automatic siege mode. But before we get into that, let's go over its basic stats. You're rocking a 120mm gun that deals 400 damage at tier 8, with great pen for the tier, 230 standard AP with a quite fast 1150 shell speed, and a very good 300 pen heat round for its premium ammunition, with 950 shell speed. With a 2-second aim time and a great .33 accuracy, the gun's looking pretty damn good, right? So what brings it down? Well, that reload. It's a long 15 seconds base, giving it a base DPM of 1600, which is quite low for a tier 8 medium, and even lower than the 440 Alpha Chimera, putting it on par with things like the Charlemagne and the Icebreaker, which both have higher alphas. But that's all fine, honestly. It doesn't feel that bad in gameplay when playing a bit passively trying to work those ridges. But how well does it work those ridges? As mentioned earlier, it does have automatic siege mode, giving it 4 more degrees of gun depression over the front, up to 9 degrees, which is pretty good. But that means you do have a base 5 degrees of gun depression. Anyone who's played with automatic siege mode tanks probably knows how finicky and annoying it could be sometimes to play with that mechanic against moving targets especially. But when it works, and you're able to utilize 9 degrees to its fullest. Armor-wise, it's pretty good, but has a flat part around the gun that can be penned by equal tier premium rounds or higher tier big guns and some standard rounds. But overall, I found it's pretty reliable. Its armor on a flat has a pretty nice thick and angled upper plate, but the usual lower plate weakness and some trouble side scraping. With the fairly good armor profile comes good speeds too. A 55 top speed with a nearly 20 power to weight ratio means this thing can get into position quick enough and go in and out of siege mode when needed. Traverse speeds aren't neglected either, and I found it was quite a nimble tank given its armor profile, which was already a nice combination. Camo wise, you have a base 370 meters moving and 346 meters still concealment, which puts it on par with, if not so slightly worse, than the tank I reviewed last week, the KPZ-07RH. Also, like that tank, it comes with 390 meters base view range, which is a pretty common and good setup for its passive capabilities, which can always come in handy. Overall, I found this tank to be quite a solid all-rounder. It's just getting past that quirky siege mode that makes it a bit off-putting for me. If we ever fix that mechanic though, I can see this tank getting a lot more play from me, but for now, it'll do with the games I've given it and be played whenever I feel like giving myself a headache with that siege mode. I would say to pick the tank up just for the uniqueness of it alone, being a one-time collab tank, especially with the 45% discount available, but be warned that siege mode may give you a hard time if you try to utilize the mechanic. If you're going to ignore the mechanic and decide not to work ridges, well then good luck. Before we get into the gameplay of course, let's go over my equipment and commander setup. I'm running the usual optics rammer vents, as I want to get as much of my reload as possible, and view range is always helpful. For the consumables, it's also quite the basic set of a premium repair kit, food, and a standard med kit. As for the skills on my commander, the usual 9 perks I put on mediums: 6 Sense, Rapid Loading, Steady Aim, Born Leader, Snapshot, Running Gun, Situational Awareness, Camo Expertise, and Silent Driving. Now into battle. And here we are on Sand River. A pretty fitting map for the Dune tank, right? As we're gonna go play on some dunes. And we are at bottom tier. Before we get further into the gameplay, I do have to say, I did not purchase this vehicle like I said I was going to, or like I thought I was going to, but instead, a very generous Leafeon gifted me the tank before the 45% discount became available. And I do feel very bad, but I am appreciative. And I thank you very much, Leafeon, for letting me play the tank earlier than I thought I would. And keeping my gold. I really do appreciate it. Now, I almost wanted to spoil this gameplay for you, but I'm not going to. Instead, we're just going to run over here where already their light tank is in our bowl, and both of our light tanks are trying to weed them out. So, while that happens below me, I'm going to see how much I can work a ridge. And you only have 9 degrees, meaning, you know, there's plenty of tanks that have 8, 9, 10 that would be able to work this ridge without having to worry about the siege mode. And you see all that bumping and bouncing and all that jitteriness. And I suppose it's better than having your camera move with the reticle, but I have an idea on how to fix this. And I feel like we've already had a tank that has the solution, the UDES 03. But let's not go into solutions now. Let's talk about the gameplay. Let's talk about how both of our light tanks are dead. Theirs is still alive, and I've bounced the bar twice. Pretty bad start, but somehow we penned the lower plate at that Highlander earlier on with our standard rounds, and this bar is just going to continue to drive forward. So with my gun depression, with my camo, I'm going to finally get a shot into him. A little bit of a low roll, but we didn't get spotted. So we'll take that. But we do get spotted now. Don't know how. But the light tank's dead. So no longer do we have to worry about that, as there are other light tanks in the north. So now I decide, well, I have 3 tank destroyers behind me. It does look like there's a 4th under there, actually. But no, it's my platoon mate. And I want to be aggressive. Despite being low tier, I feel like I can, and that bar could have totally penned my face. Luckily, he decided to use aim time, and in that time of aiming, he got finished off by my E4. So now I'm going to run over to this position that I use a lot with tanks with gun depression, and see if I can use that 9 degrees. And there I just take a 6.0 shot backwards while driving, because you're slower backwards, so you have more time to aim than if you continue to drive forward. And I find that keeping your tank moving actually makes you more accurate nowadays. A nice 420 smoke him if you got him shot on the Highlander. And we're just going to work this ridge and hope that the Highlander doesn't pen me, or even hit me for that matter. And the tanks to my left, like that T-28 Proto or anything else that could possibly potentially see me, don't. Instead, hopefully this Highlander sits there and lets me farm him with my heat rounds. But I didn't come in with a lot of heat rounds, and I'm already halfway through them. I only had 15 to begin with, and I'm at 8. And I'm about to be at 7. We've already done 3,000 damage and 500 spotting in a bottom tier matchup, but we are losing 10 to 12. And you see all those, just looking at the gameplay, I'm not even moving my tank, and you see just little bounces. It's quite aggravating, to be honest. And while playing, it's even more aggravating because you don't know when it's going to stop bouncing. And what it really does is make you actually have to utilize aim time in a way, which isn't sort of meta right now. In my opinion. In my opinion, aim time is one of the most pointless stats, as tanks with big guns don't really need to use their long aim time. And so, having my small gun, my relatively small gun, forced to sit there and aim a little bit longer because I'm bouncing, not even because my reticle's big and I'm choosing to, but because I'm bouncing and don't want to miss, quite a bit annoying. And if you were questioning, like, why did I look up there, I did record this while streaming. Unlike last week, I'm not showing you a highlight of the stream, but instead I was actually using my recording software this time around. Wasn't being negligent. Once I got the tank, I was like, well, you should probably hit the record button. 4,200 damage now, and we're only losing 8 to 9 now. But it's going to get quite slow here in a moment after we take the E75 out. And there, I don't know if that's the first time it happened this round, but we took damage, and even if you don't take damage, as long as you're hit, you'll do this unique effect where you have like sort of an invisible force field around you, but when you're hit, it'll break blue. And it's quite cool, honestly. I actually think it's a unique and neat little aspect of the vehicle. It doesn't do anything, obviously, as it's just visual. And a rushed shot there, but I didn't want him to turn since I had AP loaded. I didn't want to try and pen that lower plate again. I'm going to try and pen the upper. No, I'm going to... come on. I thought I would take the shot there. Had his side. But instead, I'll just... an on-the-move shot against another ISU. Brings me up to nearly 5,000 damage. We are losing 6 to 8 again, but we're going to bring that down to a 6 to 7. Didn't quite get above that 5,000 damage yet. But we have 4 kills. 4 kills in a tier 10 game where we've only taken 1 bit of damage, and we took out quite some scary tanks over here. Bar, E75, got rid of their light tank when ours couldn't. Well, got him spotted so the Iron Rain could take him out, but now it's sort of going to be a matter of they have to come to me. There's no way I'm going to them. I'm tier 8. They have big guns. They have a Ruthless right here in front of me who has 1150 alpha on their standard round. And if you look at my HP, after taking 1 hit, I am now 1 shot to the Ruthless. Of course, if he shoots with HE, it's actually beneficial to me if he doesn't pen, because it means he won't one-shot me. But if he pens me with an AP round, I'm dead. He has to severely low-roll me to not kill me. So, I'm going to just play passively and hope that the Ruthless becomes impatient. And it is, I will admit, a little bit of a note that I usually take, that if you see a tier 10 premium that was in a premium pass, right, or the ultimate pass, as the premium's the 2000, if you see a tier 10 premium from an ult pass or even the premium pass, usually you can predict that those players won't be the best. And so usually you'll see them YOLO in or shoot the wrong ammunition, you know, in times, especially with the 183s, they'll just shoot HE. And so my thought process here was, it's a Ruthless and a Highlander. Both of those are tier 10 premiums that have been given out for 6,000 gold each. And at this point I'm thinking, there's no way they don't rush. They have the numbers advantage, they have their tier 10 premiums, and so in hindsight, I'm wrong, but I'm just sitting here thinking that I might get free kills if I'm patient enough. And you see he keeps poking, but he's smarter than I'm letting on. And that's going to be sort of something I regret about this match. I think I could have rushed the Ruthless here, but I don't. Now, an MBTB is different. It's not a tank from an ult pass or anything. It was only free to quote-unquote veteran players, 7-year players. So if they didn't spend money on it, if they got it for free, then, you know, they're probably a knowledgeable player on average, right? Of course, you could have played during 360, come back after a long time. The game's quite different, but you have 7 years on your account, so you got a free tank. But on average, you would think MBTB players, probably skilled players. Unless, of course, you know, they're a new player who spent 22,000 gold when it came out. But either way, I am scared about the MBT in the middle of the map, as he has 1,700 HP, and this Jaeger is full health. And what I didn't realize until just then was that they still have a light tank available. We're down 5 to 7. The people aren't pushing in the south, they're pushing in the north with a light tank. So I decide, well, if they're not going to push the south, let me go back north. Maybe I can help remove the light tank and whatever else was pushing up on them, and the people in the south will stay there. They've been passive this entire time while they have numbers advantage. Maybe they'll stay there. Sadly, it's not going to end well. Oh my god, Cone, there you go, spoil. But I roll up next to my Foch platoon mate, keeping an eye on the enemy behind us. And there's an IS-4 who's two-shot, right? And, oh, that actually looked like it went right, so it didn't go where I was aiming. And you see I'm at 0 kilometers an hour at the bottom, and I'm still bumping and bumping and bumping. And there's a Jaegeru who put a round into me, and I didn't notice. But I'm at 39 HP, 5,700 damage. I finally got one into the IS-4. Can I get another one into the IS-4? Oh, he penned me too. Oh, he penned me too. I've had plenty of other games that do way better against tanks while I'm hold down like that. But as you can see, the Jaeger he just penned my face. And I presume the IS-4 either shot me with HE at 39 HP, maybe had airborne swapper or had preloaded it, or he also penned me and it didn't show up. But second place on a loss. You can't argue with that, right? 5,700 damage, 4 kills, and 1310 XP. Puts me above their WZ or whatever that was and gives me a first class. I had best in-game damage, and ignore the donuts there, we had a pretty good game. So no, I didn't get an ace tanker gameplay for you guys, but I figured second place on a loss should do, right? Again, overall the tank, pretty good, and I would recommend you buying it as it's less than 6,000 gold, but of course it's up to you, and siege mode is a factor to take into that. I appreciate you watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.